Today, we're crowning a king with British GQ, giving a high 6 with Vogue Japan, and hitting the slopes with Vogue Italia. My name is Marco, welcome to the Model Gene, and if you're ready to dissect this month's covers, hit that like button and let's get started on February's Battle of the Covers. Starting off with British Vogue, we have Jessie Buckley by Jack Davison. Happy to see another cover from him from the magazine. In a world of studio photography where everything is smooth and bright, I love his point of view. His darks are what many would consider to be too dark. Most are opting for a flatter image, but he pushes the contrast for those very strong shadows. I love this portrait of Jessie. It is hard, powerful, and she has texture on her skin. A simple test to see if your photo has good contrast is to remove the color from the equation, and this cover definitely passes the test. In the editorial, Jessie is showing a range of emotions. This photo is joyous and bright. Here we have yearning. Here we have sorrow. Something about Jessie's expression here made me think of this Dorothea Lange's famous migrant mother photograph. And that is why when you have a gifted actor shooting for a fashion magazine, you need to lean into their strengths and give them a character. I love the shoot, 10 out of 10 for me. Dodgson covers Vogue France, and it is so convenient when your magazine cover can be used for a passport photo. Vogue France is really loving this type of sterile and stark cover lately. I don't understand why they are so resistant to a beautiful cover. The text reads, unfiltered, simply yourself, but is this the lighting required to show that? Peter Lindbergh was a master of showcasing natural beauty, but his work was never boring like this, and there are many contemporary photographers who carry that legacy. She is a beautiful woman, but this cover is completely forgettable. Awar Odiang covers Vogue Italia, her first solo Vogue cover. Surprising considering how much she has been working, but not surprising given some of the other alleged models getting covers instead. She is South Sudanese, born in a refugee camp in Ethiopia, but at age 2, her family moved to Moose Jaw, Canada. Now at the top of the modeling industry, Rafael Pavarotti still cannot help himself, darkening her skin, removing her warmth, because even this South Sudanese model is not black enough. Would it be an acceptable stylistic choice to lighten her skin significantly? Besides the skin darkening, I like the volume of this yellow coat. I hate the way they put the over-the-top text around her. In the interview that accompanies the cover story, Pavarotti talks about the infamous Great Fur Caravan story with Avedon and Verushka that was supposed to be with Daniel Luna, but was removed by Diana Vreeland. Unlike that masterpiece of fashion editorial from Avedon, these photos have no narrative, no poetry. They look like nice lookbook images, but that's it. This is my favorite from the editorial, but it's all clothes and no story. Just to remind everyone, this photo and this photo are of the same model. Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi cover Vogue Australia. Lots of highs and lows across the covers and editorial. This is not an assessment of him as an actor, but Jacob is simply awful as a model. The only time when there is a vague expression is when he is sucking in his cheeks and pulling forward his top lip. Not quite as cringe as Aaron Taylor-Johnson doing it at the past Fashion Week, but still Zoolander coded. This solo cover is a sea of nothingness, not a single thing here to validate it being a cover. Margot Robbie, on the other hand, she is fantastic in this shoot. Not just looking beautiful, but she is conveying a range of emotions across the images. In this cover together, I see her vulnerability despite only her profile showing. This is my favorite shot of the two of them. It is the most candid of him, and her magnetism is off the charts. These two photos I love, these as well. Margot looks stunning and is modeling like a pro. Different emotions in every frame while looking great. Ariana Grande covers Vogue Mexico and Vogue Japan, two magazines with one sloppy shoot by Michael Bailey Gates. The biggest compliment I can give across both magazines is that a few of the images aren't terrible. I think these are passable, but it's all flat and boring. In case you haven't seen already, she has an extra finger in this image. Not a surprising mistake considering the team of creatives involved here. The Audrey Hepburn cosplay is getting weird at this point. The self-described image architect La Roche is more interested in his own celebrity than helping Ariana. I love the girl. This was not a good moment for her. Alex Kansani covers Vogue Korea, and if she had a winged eyeliner, you could pass this off as a Mizell cover. This is a very pretty portrait of her. I like that the hat is taking your eye down diagonally, but then bringing it back to her face with the curved tip. The one thing I would change is her lipstick, because we are getting quite a lot of texture on her bottom lip. They look a bit cracked, so it would have looked nicer if the lips were hydrated. This cover is not bad either. The one side of messed up hair is an interesting choice. I don't hate it, I don't love it. The text does feel a bit small with all of that negative space. I think she could have been a bit more zoomed in or at least centered slightly more. The third cover is Alex as Tilda Swinton sleepwalking with her expression very blank. Her body is doing nothing. I would not have selected this image for a cover. Toa Bird covers Vogue Philippines, mysterious, sexy rocker vibe, but I can't help if my eye gets sucked right into this mistake right here. If they just nudged the text over that tiny bit, it wouldn't be so distracting. Yes, I am nitpicking, but this level of detail is what elevates a cover from good to great. Especially since they went for this backlit, dark cover, I think more visible skin would have been nice. Toa has such a cool aesthetic, I just don't think we're getting enough of her personality here. For covers of Vogue Portugal, this beauty cover is my favorite of the group. This could not have been comfortable for the model, but the result is undeniable. The berry lip pairs well with these green stems, but I wonder why they opted for a red Vogue logo, but the text and the lip are skewing more pink. This cover by Branislav Šimončik is fine, a bit flat overall, and there are two main things I would have changed. I like her hair blowing in the wind, I just wish we had more of it, not the top part slicked down. How her hands are gripping the gnome is also a bit strange. There is too much space in between these two fingers, and it's making her hands look off. Ellen van Unwerth's cover is Saccharine Vomit. I'm not sure why the magazine would include this, besides the fact that the photographer has a famous name. It doesn't fit with the art and fashion-forward photography that Vogue Portugal is known for. For the last cover, I'm not sure how all of these objects on a Warholian portrait is fit for the Shy issue, but at least it's an interesting cover. Kaya Gerber covers Harper's Bazaar US. You all need to stop pretending she looks like her mother when that face is her father's. Despite her best attempts to ruin many great films and TV series, this magazine cover is her next victim. I'm not going to blame her entirely because everything in this photo screams amateur. The styling is hideous, these hair extensions look cheap and so American. Everything about this cover is in conflict of what the identity of a Harper's Bazaar cover should be. Adriana Lima covers Harper's Bazaar España. Not a fan of these covers, unfortunately. They are covered in this distracting handwriting font. No, that's not actual handwriting, it is a computer font made to look authentic. Without all of this text, this would be my favorite of the three covers. The draping of the cardigan on her is the most successful of the graphic elements, framing her face very nicely. For the zoomed in portrait, I don't like the decision to have the focus be on the jewelry with the shallow depth of field. I would have preferred it on her eyes. In this last cover, my eye is drawn directly to the shadow on her neck and then to her nose. Adriana Lima covers Vogue Adria. The Vogue logo is very distracting like this. They removed the G but put the O on top of her head. That doesn't make any sense. If it was just like this, it would already look better. This is an unexpected cover. The lighting is atypical, but I like the simple graphic statement and the cold mood. It's not quite a slam dunk, but not a bad cover for Vogue Adria. Lulu Tenny covers Vogue España. I like a lot about the cover, but there are some sore spots. The energy feels fun, I like the bit of wind and the casual, almost messy nature of the photo, but there are two spots with the lighting that are driving me crazy. Right here and here. The worst is this bright mustache we are getting. My eye is immediately drawn to this area. A slight shift of her face would have eliminated this problem, but that comes down to the photographer, not the model. The black lace and the red are screaming Spain. The background is nice, just not the best cover of a very gifted model. I guess Sebastian needs to go back to shooting models on a farm with sheep. Léa Seydoux covers Harper's Bazaar France. She looks cute and cozy, but I would have approached the color grading differently. Here, everything is bathed with the same warmth, but if the clothes and or the clothes plus background were a bit cooler toned, there would be more focus on the face. There's no correct answer. It was clearly a stylistic decision to have everything warm, but more contrast would create a visual hierarchy. Mona Tugard and Penelope Cruz cover W Magazine China. The photos are clean and simple, but still effective. Windblown curly hair is really having a moment the last few months, and I'm not complaining. It's an easy way to add movement to otherwise boring studio photographs. In this cover of Mona, the main thing that sticks out to me is that there is a catch light here in her eye that makes her look alert, but in the other eye, it looks a bit sleepy in comparison. I also would have loved to see her fingers, but it's not a bad cover. Even though it's only half of her face, Mona still looks exceptional here. In the editorial as well, several lovely photos of her. I don't love the middle parted straightened hair on Penelope. In motion it works, but without the wind, it looks very wiggy. Emma Chamberlain and Olivia Vinton cover Vogue Czechoslovakia. Not my favorite covers from the magazine. Emma's cover had potential, it just doesn't make any sense for it to be turned 90 degrees. It made sense when Jack Davison did it for T Magazine. The graphic elements and the collage aspect of the image made this rotation interesting and natural. The same is not true with Emma's cover. If we rotate the image, it is still confusing. There is a huge disconnect between the subject and the background. I don't like this green nail with her look. Why is this cheerleader holding an imaginary cigarette? Are we supposed to be backstage at a cheer competition? I think Emma looks good with this hair color and look. It's just a weird cover. Olivia Vinton's cover is fine, not particularly interesting. She had a period where she was booking so much, but it's always been all about her hair. Chris Grikaita covers Vogue Thailand, and I have one big problem with the photo. The lighting is super flat. It appears as if the shadows were all lifted, resulting in this low contrast cover, but if you just bring down the shadows a little, the cover is much more compelling and expensive looking, especially with so many elements in the photo. The wood building, the food and cart, the blue trash bin. More contrast helps create more of a hierarchy for your eyes to know where to focus on. Chris is an exceptional beauty. I've loved her face since she made her runway debut, so I'm happy to see her getting more covers. Evelina Dragic covers Harper's Bazaar Germany, easily the worst cover of the month. I think the European Union should really reconsider Germany's membership after this abomination, and if the styling wasn't bad enough, the text on the cover makes it even worse. Let's please forget this even happened and pray for something better next month. Bad Bunny covers GQ and Vogue Brazil, and from both magazines, they have one photo where he is straight to camera and one that is more three-quarter profile. I've mentioned this before with other covers of his, but with his eye spacing, expressionless and straight to camera is not the most flattering angle for him. And he suffers from Ariana Grande syndrome. Their talent does not translate well to being photographed. That being said, of the four covers, this is my favorite. We have the most semblance of emotion in his face here, his slouched, relaxed body, the curved wall, and how the colors offset his all-black outfit. The tightness of the pants and the color make this look feel very UK high street fast fashion, but the blue and yellow pair well together. I also like the light source coming from the door to break up his face. His hands feel very posed. In general, he looks unnaturally posed, but it's not a bad cover at all. This cover feels very GQ. It's sportier than the rest, shinier, appropriate for this magazine. Lastly, for this Vogue Brazil cover, I like the volume in his trousers, that one knee is coming forward, but one of his arms should have been doing something else. His expression reads as if they were setting up the shot, asked him a question, and then snapped the photo. I'm going to interpret that tiny tie as being a dig at Trump's stupidly long ties, because otherwise the proportions are silly. Claire Foy covers Harper's Bazaar UK. This looks like what an Annie Leibovitz photo would look like if it wasn't destroyed with her color grading. Claire looks beautiful, her milky skin against the dark green grass, covered up but exposed with a sheer fabric. They definitely brightened up the flowers, especially over her left shoulder, but I like that little flourish of lightness they add to the image. My biggest criticism of the cover is there isn't enough separation between her hair and the background. In the editorial, we can see these beautiful tendrils, but they do not translate on the cover. A great cover can be digestible up close and from afar, but those are the only points I'd really dock here. Vittoria Ceretti covers Harper's Bazaar Italia. The text here is illegible, but I guess we're supposed to be thankful Willie isn't shooting Julia Nobis against a white background. Inside the editorial, we have some of the worst photos I've ever seen of Vittoria in my life. It's not like we sacrificed her brows for some edgy look. This just looks crazy and no fashion is being served. The cover gave no indication of what horrors were to be found within the magazine. Ray covers Elle magazine, and Willy van der Pere claims another victim this month. This could have been gorgeous if another photo was selected. Her eyes are almost closed, but not entirely. I'm not getting if she's supposed to be singing or laughing here. I much prefer her face here, so much more expression and personality coming from her. I would have liked this more as a cover. Here she is singing, not a terrible cover actually, but the eyes closed on a cover does not create a strong connection with the public. I like this portrait. This one is nice as well, but I'm still waiting for Alistair McClellan to shoot her. Two covers for Vogue Turkey. I like both of them. For this cover of Christine, this hair color and fringe are really cool. Has a vintage look but doesn't feel dated or like it's trying hard to look vintage. Again, I don't like when we have a model clutching a bag that the result is having the back of both of the hands facing to camera. Fingers photograph better than square meat chunks. I do, however, like the slight angles of her body, one shoulder dropped, head slightly tilted, arms at slight angles. These different visual planes make a stationary image feel more dynamic. This photo of Vika Evsiva is beautiful as well, but I don't understand why they put the O from the Vogue on top of her head rather than behind her. The tail of this cat's eye is too rounded. I think it would have looked better if they created sharper angles with the eye makeup. The pose photographs well, although it does make her arm look malnourished and weird in this area with the shadows. If I were lighting this image, I would have brought the light a little more straight on, avoiding the strange shadow in her arm, putting part of her face more in shadow. Overall, not a bad month from the magazine. Paul Mescal covers British GQ. Not a typical GQ cover, but it is memorable. I like the high fantasy quality of the image, the giant sparkles of the crown, how bright his eyes are, but the one thing I would have preferred is if his mouth was closed. It pulls focus, looks a bit funny how we can see a few of his teeth, especially the side ones. These images from the editorial are beautiful, lots of movement and drama. They look vintage and modern at the same time. This would be my least favorite of the bunch. The cigarette smoke with the flower crown feels amateur, but overall it's a nice fashion story. And that's where today's review is going to end, but for more about the fashion industry, check out the links below. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the covers this month, and be sure to subscribe to find out who comes out on top next month in the Battle of the Covers.